prison is like a mini-state with its own laws and order. Mexican prisons are not just places of confinement but true territories of self-governance, or even small cities with their own laws, hierarchies, and harsh rules. They have long been infamous for overcrowding, violence, and close ties to organized crime. What are the conditions of imprisonment? How significant is the influence of drug cartels? And what has come of reform efforts? Except for one or two model facilities in the country, Mexican prisons often resemble small towns. For instance, within 50 kilometers of Ciudad Juarez, there are shops with an inventory similar to a village store, Coca-Cola, chips, cigarettes, and other small items. Barber shops are a must. Gang members typically like to appear well-groomed. High-ranking gangsters even have personal barbers who come to their cells at home. There are stalls openly selling mobile phones, accessories, and SIM cards, blatantly ignoring prison regulations. They also offer advice for those unfamiliar with the technology, particularly if the customer is more accustomed to handling knives or fists. There are also hotel-like rooms for intimate encounters, where wealthier inmates can invite someone of their choice, be it a woman or a man. If you have status or receive regular financial support from outside, you can indulge daily in culinary delights delivered from nearby restaurants. Naturally, everything mentioned above costs 2 or even 3 times more than outside the prison walls, which is understandable. By bribing the administration, you can invite your wife for a romantic 1 or 2-day stay in conditions that are decent by Mexican standards. Drugs are readily available in Mexican prisons, where cartels hold sway. Gang members generally do not openly use drugs. In some gangs, it is strictly prohibited. However, if you are independent and have money, you can buy whatever you need at any time. Despite strict bans, often limited to the prison administration's block, many inmates possess cash. With this, they negotiate with guards to upgrade their cells and access other services that are far from prison-like. Your life in prison if you are on your own. In a Mexican prison, there is typically only one way to survive until release: join a prison gang. Being in a gang increases your chances of being stabbed, but prison wars are rare because they provoke stricter regimes from the administration, cutting off routes for smuggling drugs, phones, and other contraband. For every gang member killed in a year, there are 4 to 5 non-gang inmates who die. These are individuals incarcerated for non-organized crime-related offenses, such as domestic violence, fights, theft, fraud, and other similar low-level crimes. Why is this so? Gangs have unwritten rules governing life in prison, detailing how people live together in the confined spaces of incarceration. Everything is regulated, simple, and understandable. You know what to say, how to say it, and to whom. However, those who are unaffiliated, villainous bullies with dumb faces, heavy fists, and aggressive personalities, have slim chances of surviving their sentence, especially if it's a long one. Although they move quietly, like shadows, and never confront gang members, chaos reigns within their groups. Fights and killings occur more often, and such incidents are typically meaningless outbursts of aggression. To avoid daily humiliation and violence in prison, you'll inevitably need to cooperate with cartel gang members in some capacity. If you're smart, especially if you have skills useful to cartel operations, you'll receive gang protection, significantly easing and securing your life. At the very least, drunken or drugged-up thugs will steer clear of you. Your life in prison if you are a gang member. Life for a gang member in prison is better by every conceivable metric than it is for an independent inmate. Most importantly, they are assured of their safety and survival. It takes extraordinary effort or extreme bad luck for a lone wolf thug to attack a gang member. Even the dumbest thugs understand that assaulting a gang member will provoke a brutal and disproportionate response from the gang. Prison gangs don't accept everyone. They observe the person first. Only after a positive decision do they offer membership into their brotherhood. In the prison we're describing, there were 2 gangs, both so incredibly brutal that there were cases where delinquent thugs committed suicide in various ways when they knew they had angered a gang and could not escape retribution. A state inspection conducted at this prison uncovered, without surprise, a lavish setup in inmate Marquez's cell. The decor included expensive wooden furniture, a refrigerator, a massive television, an air conditioner, a computer, Wi-Fi, and even a jacuzzi. It turned out that this clever convict, through bribes to the guards, managed to secure 3 cells for his personal use. He essentially rented out living space, made renovations, ordered appliances online, and began leasing them to other inmates. Marquez himself lived more modestly, but there were plenty of takers for his luxury cell accommodations among the prisoners. The inspection discovered around $4,000 in Marquez's cash box, money he had saved from leasing space. He intended to invest the funds in further upgrades for his 5-star cell. Of course, there was a scandal, but something tells me that after the dust settled, the resourceful inmate resumed his much-needed business in this harsh Mexican prison. I wouldn't be surprised to learn that when his sentence ends, Marquez will leave the prison in a luxury car bought with the money he earned behind bars. Gang leaders and their inner circle in Mexican prisons live as described above. However, no state inspection is likely to disturb their cells, which more closely resemble the apartments of wealthy lawyers in a Mexico City suburb. Executioners of the gangs. A lifetime pension for extreme cruelty. Can you imagine what happens to those who, in any way, cross a gang member? Executioners of the gangs deal with them. Some victims may even see suicide as a better option. Executioners, fully aware of the consequences, often confess to the police afterward, knowing they'll likely face a life sentence rather than an additional 5 to 8 years for murder. If a body has been mutilated or otherwise displayed in a gruesome manner, the penalty is life imprisonment. It's a known custom. If the murderer is caught, no further investigation is needed. This ensures the established order and the relationship between gangs, prison administrations, and police remain intact. A corpse, a murderer, a closed case. Everyone's satisfied, and life goes on. A life sentence for the executioner serves as a guarantee that the gang will support and provide for their family outside prison for decades, even after their death. Their status in the life sentence block will be high, earning them respect and honor. However, special blocks for life prisoners don't offer the perks and leniencies of regular prisons. But hardened sicarios accept this fate if it benefits the gang, which often means more to them than their own family. Prison overcrowding as a constant threat in Mexican facilities. One of the most serious issues in Mexico's penitentiary system is the chronic overcrowding of cells housing ordinary inmates. Most prisons hold several times more inmates than their capacity allows. In some places, the overcrowding level reaches 200% or even 300%. This creates unsafe and unhygienic conditions and contributes to violence among regular prisoners. As previously mentioned, gang members live under different circumstances. Cells designed for a few people are often packed to the brim. The stench of excrement and unwashed bodies is overwhelming. Inmates sleep on the floor, toilets don't work, and fresh air and clean water are luxuries. In these conditions, outbreaks of infectious diseases are commonplace. Accessing medical help, even for severe illnesses, is nearly impossible unless you can pay for a visit to the prison doctor. One story tells of an inmate suffering from multiple severe conditions who never received medical care during 3 years of incarceration. He spent several days dying in an overcrowded cell under the indifferent gazes of his cellmates. Attempts at prison reform in recent years. In 2016, the Mexican government launched a campaign to improve prison conditions and reduce violence. A key initiative was the introduction of rehabilitation programs for inmates, including educational courses and work programs. However, these efforts resulted in little more than optimistic reports at government meetings. In practice, nothing has significantly changed. Riots and mass escapes in prisons, ordinary inmates as tools in the hands of gangs? Any actions within Mexican prisons aimed at organizing riots or escapes are orchestrated and fully controlled by gang members from drug cartels. Of course, these are extreme methods used only as a last resort, but they do happen. Efforts by Mexican authorities to prevent such incidents are either inadequate or a sham. For example, in one prison where the head of the Sinaloa cartel, Joaquin El Chapo Guzman, was held, only 70 of the 750 surveillance cameras were operational. As later investigations revealed, the remaining cameras were fake, with funds allocated for their installation stolen by corrupt penitentiary officials. The technological edge of cartels. Here's an example of cartels using cutting-edge technology, often surpassing government capabilities due to strict punishment for failure within their ranks. After his second escape from a Mexican prison, El Chapo used an encrypted BlackBerry BBM messenger for communication. However, messages weren't sent directly to the drug lord but to a trusted intermediary. This intermediary transcribed the messages onto an iPad and used public Wi-Fi networks to send them via iMessage to another cartel lieutenant. That lieutenant repeated the process in reverse, forwarding the messages back to Guzman via his BlackBerry. This system was so effective that narcotics officers couldn't track or hack the new communication devices. Back inside the prison perimeter, when a decision for a riot or escape is made by the prison elders and cartel leaders, every risk and potential benefit is weighed. Planning begins far in advance. Preparation for acts of disobedience or an escape, where a mass of prisoners acts as a human shield to allow a few essential gang members to escape, starts long before the chaos unfolds. Many of the ordinary prisoners who end up running, willingly or under coercion, understand that their chances of survival are slim. Yet, the pull of freedom and the threat of violence for refusing force them to take part. A detailed plan is crafted. Officials and guards are bribed. Blades and weapons are stockpiled, and firearms are smuggled in for the key players in the operation. The role of ordinary inmates. Interestingly, many ordinary inmates have no idea about the role assigned to them. Those who survive often believe the riot they participated in was spontaneous, but it never is. D-Day, when the designated day arrives, it marks the end for many. Who survives and who doesn't is left to chance or divine will. This controlled chaos allows the cartels to achieve their objectives while leaving a trail of destruction and sacrifice among the ordinary prisoners, used as pawns in a game far beyond their control. In the world, there are two cruel, medieval dictatorships that are almost caricatures of themselves, competing in imposing bans and restrictions that further complicate the already difficult lives of their citizens. These countries are Turkmenistan and North Korea. Let's compare these two nations where rulers and their close associates indulge in absolute permissiveness while ordinary people endure a miserable existence. The authorities of this republic, overwhelmed by the billions of dollars that fell into their laps, thanks to the country's immense wealth in natural gas and the submissive obedience of 5 million Turkmen, a kind and God-fearing people, regularly introduce strange bans. Recently, at the initiative of President Serdar Berdimuhamedov, Turkmenistan began regulating queues in stores. In the capital, Ashgabat, queues were completely banned, and in some cities, only 4 people are allowed to wait in line at a time. So, if you urgently need something but there are already 4 people at the counter, you must sit somewhere aside until one leaves, and then rush with all your might to become the 4th in line. Since 2015, importing black and other dark-colored cars has been prohibited in the country. This rule is strictly enforced in the capital, Ashgabat, while control in the provinces is less rigorous. The ban on dark-colored cars was explained by the former president Gurbanguly Berdimuhamedov's preference for light colors and his fear of dark ones. According to Berdimuhamedov, black brings bad luck. Under these new rules, owners of old dark-colored cars had to repaint them. Tinted car windows were also banned. According to Deutsche Welle, the mass repainting of cars greatly benefited auto repair shops, which mostly belonged to individuals close to the authorities. In 2018, women were banned from driving in Turkmenistan. While in December 2017, traffic inspectors merely warned female drivers about the rule. By January, they had begun confiscating licenses and sending cars to impound lots. The reason was statistics presented to the president by the Minister of Internal Affairs, allegedly showing that most traffic accidents were caused by female drivers or involved them. As a result, the president ordered the minister to fix the situation. Following this, for example, female employees of state institutions were asked to sign pledges stating they would not drive. Additionally, Turkmen women are prohibited from wearing open swimsuits or bikinis, and female employees of budget institutions are banned from painting their nails, wearing gold jewelry, or lightening their hair. Unmarried girls or women are not allowed to walk outside after 9 p.m. All these bans are justified as efforts to uphold morality. Since 2017, the country has actively campaigned against air conditioners and split systems, allegedly to preserve the aesthetic appearance of the capital. Violators are visited by housing management staff who demand the dismantling of the equipment. However, in 2018, temperatures in Ashgabat frequently reached over 40 degrees Celsius (104 degrees Fahrenheit) in the shade, with some days reaching 46 degrees Celsius (115 degrees Fahrenheit). As a result, residents began installing air conditioners despite the unofficial ban. For the sake of beautiful streets and avenues, authorities have also called on citizens to remove satellite dishes from building facades. During these same years, Ashgabat authorities conducted a campaign to dismantle satellite antennas from private house roofs, cutting off access to foreign television channels. Reports of exterminating stray animals in Turkmenistan frequently surface. For instance, in 2020, people in military uniforms were seen shooting dogs from a car with government license plates. Citizens accuse municipal workers of scattering poisoned pieces of smoked sausage in places where people walk their pets. The authorities do not comment on the mass killing of stray dogs and cats. Sometimes, those directly involved in the exterminations justify their actions by citing diseases and viruses allegedly spread by stray animals. However, these brutal and senseless methods often harm domestic pets as well. In this country, the authorities closely monitor the style of their citizens. Therefore, there is a ban on piercings, as well as on wearing blue jeans and other Western-style clothing. Wearing black jeans is allowed, but blue jeans are prohibited because such forms of self-expression could lead to the overthrow of the country's established regime. Kim Jong-un believes that a hairstyle is an important part of one's appearance, as it reflects mood, culture, and even intellectual ability. Beauty salons and barbershops display a list of 15 approved haircuts for both men and women. While the list of hairstyles is officially recommended, failure to adhere to these guidelines can result in public humiliation. The ban on watching foreign films and listening to foreign music applies not only to North Korean citizens but also to foreign tourists visiting the country. It is believed that residents should only listen to patriotic or national music censored by the government and watch state-approved films. For example, viewing South Korean content, regardless of its nature, or possessing it can lead to prison sentences of 5 to 15 years. Additionally, anyone who writes, speaks, or sings in a South Korean style can also face imprisonment. Any CDs, tapes, USB drives, etc., containing banned music are subject to immediate destruction. Distributing forbidden films and songs in North Korea is punishable by death. Recently, a man in North Korea was sentenced to death for smuggling the series Squid Game into the country on a USB drive. Corruption Perception Index: 168 out of 180 in 2024. As one American diplomat wrote in 2009, it is well known among informed circles that energy companies strive to gain access to meetings with high-ranking officials, including the president, using small gifts as the key. The same diplomat described how the Russian gas company Itera bought a $60 million yacht as a gift for the president in exchange for a gas contract. The gift served as an effective incentive to speed up the deal-making process. In April 2010, the German company Daimler, which in February 2000 attempted to enter the Turkmen market, gifted an armored car worth 300,000 euros to a high-ranking Turkmen official for his birthday. Without this gift, Daimler's negotiations with Ashgabat would have been at risk. Documents available to U.S. Authorities also reveal that Daimler sponsored the German-language publication of 10,000 copies of the Turkmen moral guidebook Runama, which cost the company $250,000. The high-ranking